Before we go any further, I need you to really hear this. You did not stumble onto this by accident. On some level, this found you. I know that might sound like the kind of thing people say casually, but I am asking you to sit with it for a real moment, because there is a genuine difference between randomly falling onto something and being steered toward it. What is happening right now, in this exact moment, is not random. It is not simply the result of an algorithm doing what algorithms do. Something far more deliberate than that is at work here. And somewhere underneath the noise and movement of your day, you already sensed that. The moment this caught your attention, something shifted inside you. Not exactly curiosity, something quieter than that, something with more weight, a feeling closer to recognition, like coming across a few sentences you wrote to yourself a long time ago and had somehow completely forgotten. You have been carrying something lately, not the visible kind of heaviness that other people can read on your face or ask you about, not the kind that draws concerned looks or invites long conversations, the kind that lives quietly just behind your chest, steady and familiar, always present just below the surface. The kind you have lived with long enough that you almost forget it is there as something separate from you, but you do notice it. You notice it in the mornings before the day builds its momentum. You notice it in the small pauses that open up between one thing and the next, when the distractions settle and it is just you and the honest reality of where your life currently stands. You notice it when someone asks how you are doing, and you say, "Fine," and mean something far more layered and complicated than that single word can hold. And the real truth, the one you have not actually said out loud to anyone in a while, is that you are tired. Not broken, not falling apart, not weak in any of the ways that word implies. Just genuinely, deeply tired. And there is a significant difference between those things that I need you to understand clearly, because the story you have been quietly telling yourself about what this tiredness means is not the whole story, not even close to it. You have been doing the work. Maybe not flawlessly, maybe not without slipping back into old patterns sometimes, maybe not without those nights where feelings you thought you had already processed came rushing back in ways that surprised you, but you have been doing it consistently. You have been choosing yourself in small, steady ways that no one around you can see, that no one celebrates, that no one offers you any recognition for. The morning you dragged yourself out of bed when staying under the covers would have been so much easier. The moment you chose not to send that message you had already typed and deleted. The night you sat with something genuinely painful and resisted the impulse to reach for your phone or fill the silence with noise just to make it stop. The quiet decision you have made over and over again to keep moving forward even when it felt slow and heavy and completely invisible to everyone around you. That is not nothing. It is not a small thing. It is everything. And the part of you that feels exhausted right now is not the part that is failing. It is the part that has been carrying far more than it should have needed to for far longer than was fair. That weight has not gone unnoticed even when it felt entirely invisible. Today I want to talk about what it actually means when something like this reaches you. Not the surface version that makes for a nice caption, but the deeper reality. The kind that Carl Jung devoted much of his work to explaining in a way that the rational, skeptical mind could receive without immediately dismissing, because Jung understood something that most people spend their entire lives carefully avoiding. The psyche, the deep living intelligence operating within you, is not passive. It is not simply a storage space for old memories and unexpressed emotions. It is active. It moves toward wholeness with a quiet precision that does not ask your permission and does not wait until you feel ready for it. And when you are genuinely ready, not in the surface way you sometimes convince yourself you are, but in the way that only arrives after real struggle, real loss, and real internal growth, the psyche begins to organize things. It starts arranging circumstances in ways that your logical mind will rush to call coincidence, because coincidence is far more comfortable than sitting with the alternative. The alternative is that you are being guided, that something within the fabric of life itself is moving toward you and you are beginning to move toward it in return. So let me ask you something, and I genuinely want you to sit with it. What have you been trying to figure out on your own? Because there is something very specific here. There is a version of your life that you have been holding gently in the back of your mind for a long time. Not obsessing over it, not forcing it. Just carrying it carefully, the way you carry something fragile you are not yet sure whether to set down or keep. A version where something unresolved finally settles into solid ground, where something that has been suspended between you and another person or between you and a future you can almost make out but cannot quite bring into full focus, finally lands somewhere real. You have not given up on that version, but in those honest, unguarded moments when your defenses are down, you have started to wonder whether still wanting it makes you naive, whether the hope you have been quietly protecting is genuine wisdom or simply fear wearing the mask of holding on. That question is precisely why this reached you today, because the answer is neither of those things. It is not wisdom and it is not foolishness. It is something more precise. What you are experiencing is discernment still in the process of forming. You are in the middle of learning the difference between hope that genuinely supports you and attachment that quietly drains you. And that is one of the most important things a person can move through. But it is rarely clean or clearly defined. It does not arrive all at once in an obvious way. It comes in layers. It comes with setbacks that make you feel like you were wrong to hope at all, followed by moments of clarity so fragile they are almost too delicate to trust. You are right in the middle of that process right now, and from the inside, it does not feel like growth. It feels like being stuck, like standing in a doorway where the path behind you is no longer truly available, but the path ahead has not fully opened either. The place behind you is familiar, even where it hurt you. The place ahead holds what you actually want, but it is still unknown, and the uncertainty of it is its own kind of weight. The waiting inside that doorway is exhausting. And yet here you are, continuing to stand in it every single day without the validation or recognition that kind of endurance deserves. Jung described this kind of internal experience as the transcendent function, the process by which opposing forces within a person begin to resolve themselves into something entirely new, not a compromise between two things, not one side of you overpowering the other, but a third thing, something genuinely different, something that could only come into existence because of the tension and friction between the two. This process does not follow your schedule. It does not arrive because you have decided you are finally ready or because things have started making sense on the surface. It happens when enough of the old has dissolved to make space for what wants to come next. And that dissolving, the part that feels like stagnation, the part that feels like you are standing completely still while life moves around you, is not stagnation at all. It is the doorway itself. The pressure you are feeling is not the pressure of something ending. It is the pressure of something trying to finally emerge. You are not stuck. You are in the middle of becoming something. And becoming is disorienting because you are no longer fully who you used to be, but you are not yet completely who you are growing into. Most days, you are navigating your life from that in-between space without a reliable map, without clear signs telling you how much further you have to go. But this matters enormously. The in-between is not a mistake. It is not evidence that you have fallen behind, or that something has overlooked you, or that you have somehow done this wrong. The in-between is the actual work. It is the most essential part of the entire process. And it is also the part that receives the least recognition from the outside world, because from the outside, nothing appears to be happening at all. People in the in-between look completely fine. They show up. They meet their responsibilities. They respond to messages and laugh at the right moments in conversations. And no one around them can see that underneath all of that functioning, they are in the middle of a complete internal reorganization. Everything they once believed about themselves, what they deserve, what love is actually supposed to feel like, what they are no longer willing to accept and carry forward, all of it is being quietly restructured from the inside. That silent restructuring is happening inside you right now. And it is the most significant thing occurring in your life, even though it is entirely invisible to everyone around you. Now I want to talk about the other person, the one who has been on your mind, the one whose name occupies a specific and particular place inside your chest, a place you do not always access consciously, but that opens unexpectedly at completely unrelated moments. When a certain song starts playing, when light fills a room in a way that feels familiar in a way you cannot explain, when someone uses a word that once only existed between the two of you. I want to speak about them because they are genuinely part of this message too, though they are not the center of it. You are the center, but they are woven into it. And what I want you to understand about them may not be easy to receive, especially if you are still in the place where the hurt is the loudest thing, where unanswered questions still sting, where silence still lands like something sharp. They are in their own process right now, one they did not consciously choose and cannot fully see from within, a process they do not yet have the language to name, and that process is significantly harder than whatever version of themselves they are currently presenting to the world. Because beneath the surface of the life they are constructing and maintaining, something deeper is happening. They are being brought face to face with the gap between who they have been showing up as and who the most honest version of themselves genuinely requires them to become. That gap does not close easily or quickly. It does not close through staying busy or through the momentum of simply continuing forward or through deciding to feel something different. It closes through genuine reckoning. And that reckoning, in many ways, has your face. Not because you are their rescue, not because your healing depends on their waking up, not because you need to hold yourself in a state of waiting for them to complete their process before you can move into yours. None of that is true, but because you brought something real into their life during a time when much of everything around them was built on distance, performance, and careful control. The realness you offered, the depth of attention, the genuine presence you brought, that did not simply disappear when the connection changed form. It went underground. And things that go underground do not stay silent. They grow toward the light, whether the conditions on the surface allow for it or not. I am not telling you to wait. That needs to be completely clear, because it is far too easy to hear something like this and quietly convert it into permission to put your own life on hold. That is not what this is. What I am telling you is something far more important than any instruction about reaching out or staying silent or giving it more time. The version of you that is rooted in her own becoming. The version you are building quietly right now in the exhausting, invisible in-between space. The version that is emerging through work that no one sees and no one applauds. That version is not in competition with love. She is the very condition for it. The real kind. The kind that does not ask you to make yourself smaller to fit inside it. The kind that does not require you to hold your breath, monitor your every response, or continuously reshape yourself into something more manageable for someone else to accept. The kind of love that can only truly find you when you are standing fully in your own truth, without the constant low hum of anxiety that comes from needing someone else to confirm that you are worth staying for, and you are closer to that version of yourself than you have ever been, even if it does not feel that way right now, especially because it does not feel that way right now, because the moments just before a real shift almost always feel like the opposite of movement. They feel like stillness. Like the world has gone quiet and forgotten you exist. But that quiet is not emptiness. It is preparation. There is something Jung observed about psychological transformation that I keep returning to. He noticed that the most significant changes in a person's inner life almost never announce themselves ahead of time. They arrive after extended periods of internal tension and pressure, phases that are almost universally misread as failure, as regression, as proof that nothing is working and nothing is changing, when in truth they represent the necessary final pressure of transformation completing itself before something new can exist. The cocoon does not feel like growth from the inside. It feels like confinement. It feels like being completely stuck. And then one day, the structure gives way. You are not failing. You are under the specific kind of pressure that arrives directly before something genuinely new emerges. And that pressure is not random. It is not punishment. It is purposeful. It has been building for exactly as long as it needed to build. Every single moment of it has been shaping something within you that you will only be able to fully understand from the other side when you can look back and clearly see what this entire chapter was actually preparing you for. But even before that clarity arrives, there is something I want you to trust right now, today, in whatever state you are in as you receive this. The quiet work you have been doing has not been wasted. The mornings you chose yourself when everything in you wanted to default back to old patterns. The private decisions you made when no one was watching and there was no reward except the quiet dignity of honoring what you actually know to be true about yourself. All of it has been building something real, something solid, something that is almost ready to take form. There is something specific I want to say about the person you have been thinking about, and I want to say it carefully because it is easy to misread. They are being changed by your absence, not in an obvious or dramatic way, in the quiet way that real change always works, beneath the surface, in places they cannot fully see or articulate. The version of you they carry in their memory is not fixed. It is alive. It grows and evolves alongside their own evolving. It asks questions of them that the version of themselves they once were never had to face. It surfaces in ordinary, unguarded moments, not demanding anything, not pushing, simply existing as a quiet and persistent presence. And that presence by itself becomes the question they cannot stop encountering. Who are you actually choosing to be? Are you making that choice with any real awareness? Is the life you are building genuinely yours, or is the one that simply felt safest when you were afraid? These are not comfortable questions, and they are not ones anyone seeks out willingly. That kind of reckoning finds people the same way this message found you today, and that reckoning carries your mark on it, not because you caused it or owe them anything in return. Not because your healing should be organized around whatever version of themselves they may eventually become, but because truth does not become quiet simply because someone tries not to hear it. It grows louder. It grows louder in direct proportion to how hard someone works to push it down, and they have been working hard at that for a while now, and it is beginning to show. But here is what truly matters above everything else I have said. This is the part that needs to stay with you beyond today, beyond this moment, beyond whatever comes next. Your healing cannot be organized around their timeline. Your becoming cannot sit in a waiting room while someone else works through their process. That is not just a gentle suggestion, it is a psychological truth. The whole, grounded, fully present version of you that this entire chapter has been shaping cannot completely emerge while it is still structured around waiting for someone else to catch up. It needs your full investment. It needs your complete attention and genuine belief in your own story as the primary story, not as a supporting role in someone else's arc. You are the lead in this. You are the one with the actual authority over what happens next. And the most powerful part of all of this is something you can feel underneath the logic of it. The more completely you step into that role, the more fully you become someone the right kind of connection can actually reach. You are not making yourself unavailable by healing. You are making yourself visible in a way you have never quite been before. You are not moving away from love by becoming whole. You are becoming someone who can finally receive it in the form it was always meant to take. You are making yourself someone worth moving toward. There is a version of this story where everything you have been holding on to and working toward and refusing to let go of comes together in a way you genuinely cannot see from where you are currently standing. Not because any outcome is guaranteed, nothing real ever is, but because you have been doing the kind of inner work that tends to lead toward that kind of outcome. Because life, whatever you believe about how it operates, tends to respond to the energy of someone who has finally chosen to be real. Someone who has stopped performing and started actually living. Who has become quiet enough to hear what they truly want and honest enough to keep wanting it even when the evidence around them does not seem to be keeping up. I want to speak now to the part of you that feels afraid. Not the strong part. That part has been doing its job and will keep doing it. But the part that lies awake in the middle of the night, in that specific kind of darkness that only exists at 2 or 3 in the morning, wondering if you have already waited too long, hoped too deeply, or given too much of yourself to something that did not know how to fully receive it. The part that sometimes wonders if the real issue is not about that person or that decision or that particular moment, but something deeper. Something about you, about how intensely you feel things, about how completely you love when you love, even though that depth has never seemed to protect you from the pain that comes anyway. I want to speak directly to that part of you, slowly and clearly. You have not made a mistake by feeling what you felt. You have not made a mistake by wanting what you wanted. The depth of your capacity to feel is not the problem. It has never been the problem. The only thing that would genuinely be a mistake right now is deciding that what you are capable of feeling is a flaw rather than recognizing it as one of the most extraordinary things about you. Because it is not a flaw. It is not a weakness. It is the very quality in you that makes the right kind of love, when it finally arrives, not just possible, but completely natural. Real love is not threatened by depth. It is designed to meet it, hold it, and grow inside it. I want to leave you with something that stays with you past this moment. You are standing at a threshold right now, not at an ending, even though things have felt like they have been ending for a long time. At a threshold, the kind that only appears after enough of the old has been genuinely released to make room for something new. The kind that only opens when the deeper part of you has arrived at a readiness that your surface self may not have even recognized yet. And crossing that threshold does not happen with any fanfare. It does not come with a clear, dramatic sign that everything has shifted at once. It arrives quietly, in a morning that feels just slightly different from the one before it, without you being able to say exactly why. In a moment of unexpected clarity that settles something in you that you had not consciously realized was still unsettled. In a choice that looks small from the outside, but carries more actual weight than anything that has happened in a long time. It shows up in a single conversation, in a pause, in one breath that finally releases something you have been carrying far longer than you should have needed to carry it. And then another moment follows, and another choice after that. And slowly, without making any formal announcement, without waiting for you to fully understand what is happening, the life that has been quietly forming in the background while you were doing the invisible work, while you were standing in that in-between space, while you were refusing to give up on the version of yourself that knows what she deserves, that life begins to reveal itself. And one day, you will look back at that doorway, the one that felt so confining, the one where nothing seemed to be moving forward no matter how long you stood there. And you will realize you are no longer standing in it. You will understand that you have already crossed it, that everything that felt like waiting was actually movement, that everything that felt perfectly still was quietly, steadily becoming. You are closer than you think. This reached you for a reason. Stay with it. Stay with yourself. The next chapter already knows exactly who you are.